In today's video, we uncover a chilling and almost unbelievable case where an everyday household item became the instrument of murder. A woman's seemingly innocent act of adding eye drops to her husband's drink would spiral into a deadly plot that shocked investigators and left an entire community stunned. Go to Lake Wylie in South Carolina. It's a quiet summer afternoon, except for the sound of a lawnmower far away. A man is lying still at the bottom of a grand staircase inside a huge waterfront mansion. Even though there is something wrong, the house is still and bright outside. Still, something is very wrong. A woman then bursts through the front door, runs out into the street, and waves her arms for help. Her voice is shaky and her words are urgent. Her husband needs to see a doctor. Within minutes, rescuers show up. When they go inside, though, something doesn't look quite right. Just before we continue, I'd love to know, where are you tuning in from? Whether you're watching from home, work, or on the go, drop your city or country in the comments below. It's always amazing to see how far these stories reach. And if you're enjoying this deep dive into true crime, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Now, let's get back into the case. Steve Clayton was born around 1954 in South Florida, which is where his story starts. It's hard to find information about his youth, but one thing was clear. He was incredibly kind and always wanted others to succeed. In the end, his friends, family, and coworkers would say that he was the kind of man who not only made his own way, but also helped others find theirs. Steve became a bookkeeper and opened a physical therapy business that specialized in sports injuries by the time he was 30. His hard work and drive paid off. He got more and more clients, and his business did very well. Steve retired early and sold his multi-million-dollar business when he was only 42 years old, but retirement did not mean being bored. Steven spent a lot of time showing young business owners what he had learned from years of hard work. Many of them would say that his advice changed the course of their lives in the future. Steve was full of life and energy. He was charming, friendly, and always the life of the party. He loved being an uncle even though he never had kids of his own. He also had a rough love life. He got married 6 or 7 times. The last marriage he had would change everything. Steve moved to North Carolina in 2010. After meeting Lana Clayton on a dating site, he went there. She worked as a nurse and loved taking care of people in Veterans Affairs hospitals. Steve couldn't stay away from her caring personality. In November 2013, they got married. After 2 years, the couple moved to a fancy home on the water in Lake Wylie, South Carolina. The house was based on George Washington's Mount Vernon estate. It was a beautiful place with calm seas and rolling greenery all around. It looked like life was going well. Lana became close to Steve's family because they thought she made him happy. There were no obvious signs of trouble, but Lana would later paint a very different picture of their marriage, one that only she could fully explain. On July 21st, 2018, everything changed. Around 1 p.m., Lana ran out of the house in a panic and flagged down James Blackledge on a motorbike. She told Steve that he needed help right away and begged him to call 911. James did that while watching her run to ask for help from a neighbor. Strangely, Lana stayed outside when that neighbor went inside to check on Steve. A few minutes later, emergency workers arrived. Body camera video caught them entering the grand house and following the path that led to the bottom of the main staircase. He was lying there under a white sheet. At the scene, they said he was dead. Lana told the police that Steve had been experiencing severe vertigo lately, which made him very dizzy and sometimes caused him to pass out. She said he hadn't been able to get out of bed for days because he was sick. He died early that morning. Around 11 a.m., she checked on him and then went outside to mow the big lawn for 2 hours. She said she found him at the bottom of the stairs when she got back inside. At first, police thought it was an accident or maybe a heart attack because of his age, medical background, and the scene they could see. Steve got decompression sickness years ago after a diving trip in the Bahamas where he climbed out of the water too quickly and didn't follow safety rules. The injury had long-lasting effects and he still had health problems connected to it after months of recovery. A lot of people at the scene thought his death was normal. However, not everyone agreed with that reasoning. Nick French, Steve's nephew and a police officer from a nearby county, got there right away after hearing the news. As he looked around the house and the situation, he started to notice things that other people had missed that made him think something wasn't quite right. From the start, some things about Lana's actions on the day Steve died didn't seem right. There were 2 phones in her house. She had been trained as a nurse and knew how important it was to act quickly in medical situations. But she didn't call 911 herself. Instead, she ran out into the street, stopped a biker, and asked him to call for help. She quickly went to a neighbor's house from there. Yes, it's true that fear can make it hard to think straight. When they are under a lot of stress, even professionals can freeze up or act in a crazy way. Still, going past 2 phones that were close by to find a stranger to make the call didn't make sense and wasted valuable minutes. Nick French, Steve's nephew and a police cop, saw something else right away. There was a runner on the stairs in the house. It was a strip of carpet that wasn't nailed down but was just lying there on the steps. It was perfectly lined up and hadn't been moved at all. The runner would have moved if Steve, a man of his size, hit his head on those steps. It hadn't, though. The fact that there was no physical proof of a fall was just the beginning. Steve didn't have any bruises that would be expected from falling down a whole flight of stairs. Some people might have said he only fell a few steps, near the bottom. Nick, on the other hand, thought nothing fit the story. Lena's actions afterward brought up more questions. Within hours, she told everyone around her that she wanted Steve to be burned right away. The deputy coroner told her that an autopsy could find out what killed the person and give her peace of mind, but she wasn't interested. The woman did not want an investigation. She wanted him to be taken to the mortuary right away and burned. What was her reason for this urgency? Lena said Steve had used drugs a lot, and she was afraid that an autopsy would make his image worse. But people who knew him well didn't believe that story. Steve liked Long Island iced tea and smoked weed every once in a while, but he wasn't hooked on either. Nick said he would call Steve's other nephew Chris to tell him about the death, but Lana strongly refused each time. Chris was an adult, so Nick thought he had the right to know. She told him not to see Steve that way. Nick finally ignored her concerns and made the call himself. He went upstairs because of that choice and found two worrying things. Steve's cell phone was gone, which was strange because he always carried it with him. No matter how hard they looked, they could never find it. Later, investigators thought Lana had taken it away days earlier, which meant Steve couldn't get help from anyone else. What they found second was even scarier. The master bedroom had not been taken care of at all. The urine-soaked bed was a clear sign that Steve had not been given the right care while he was sick in bed. Nick thought it meant rejection, which was even stranger because Lana used to be a nurse. The sheets would have been changed and the room would have been cleaned if she had been really taking care of her husband. Steve's sister Rosie had not been able to reach him for several days before he died, which was very rare for him. This made people even more suspicious. There were more signs that were not good. Chris went to see Lana to check on her and talk about Steve's business after hearing the news. He asked for Steve's will because he was in charge of his assets. Lana said there wasn't one. Chris was sure that wasn't true because he had seen it for himself. In the end, Lana had burned it, which was the truth. She started a fire that destroyed the will and other legal papers. This meant that under South Carolina law, she would get everything as his partner. At a farewell party for Steve less than 2 weeks after he died, his friends and family noticed something else. Lana had already put his things in boxes. She seemed more interested in getting rid of his things than in honoring his memory while they were sad. Her family and friends were told to take whatever they wanted. She said that everything that was left over would be taken to the dump. It was a scary scene that looked more like someone cleaning up than someone who had lost a spouse. But Nick and Chris Clayton weren't going to go against their gut. They asked for a full autopsy and toxicology report at the York County Mortuary on behalf of the family without telling Lana. That choice would turn out to be very important. The test was done by forensic toxicologist Demi Garvin and Dr. Sabrina Gass. There was no question about it. Steve Clayton had been poisoned. His body had very high amounts of tetrahydrozoline, which is the active agent in some eye drops that reduce redness like Visine. It makes the blood vessels in the eyes narrow. If someone swallows a lot of it, it can stop their breathing and kill them. It's easy to sneak tetrahydrozoline into a drink without anyone noticing because it has no color, smell, or taste. It makes you sick, throws up, and has diarrhea in small amounts. It can kill you in large amounts. The next question that came to mind was clear. Did Steve know he was eating poison, or was it given to him without his knowledge? On August 29, 2018, Lana was asked to come in and talk to detectives. They told her she wasn't in danger yet. It was already too late for her to change her mind about the autopsy, but she didn't know that FBI agents and York County Sheriff's Office detectives were listening in a room next door. Lana told everyone at first that she was just a confused widow and didn't know what could have killed Steve. But as soon as the cops brought up tetrahydrozoline, she changed how she felt. She knew right away what the drug was and even said out loud, Visine. Investigators knew she knew a lot more than she was telling them because the link happened so quickly for such a specific drug. When Lana had to answer, she made up her first story. As a way to help him go to the toilet more often, she said Steve was putting a few drops of Visine in his coffee in the morning. The investigators weren't sure. There were a lot of safe, easy-to-find solutions for stomach problems. Why would someone want to use an eye drop bottle? She changed her mind again when that story started to fall apart. The grieving widow became the partner who had to put up with a lot. She said that all of a sudden Steve was a controlling, verbally abusive, and drug-using guy. However, the police already had Steve's toxicology results. There were no signs of heavy drug use, and when they looked into her claims of abuse, they didn't find any proof. Lana knew she was losing, so she stopped the interview and drove home, not knowing that police were following her. She sat down with the police again soon after getting back to her house and admitted. This could have been because the pressure was too much, or she may have known the truth was getting closer. Lana said she had lost it after years of what she called emotional abuse. She revealed that she put the whole bottle of Visine into Steve's water. It was her claim that she hadn't meant to kill him, just make him sick for a day or two so he wouldn't bother her. Then she told them something even scarier. Lana had called 911 to report a terrible accident 2 years before Steve's death. For safety reasons, she said, she was loading a crossbow one night when it went off and hit Steve in the back of the head while he slept. She said that the gun went off while she was loading it for safety reasons. It's crazy that the police at the time believed her, and Steve seemed to believe her too. It's possible that he didn't believe his wife had any reason to really want to kill him. Lana told the truth during her confession on August 29, 2018, though. It wasn't a mistake. She said she shot him with the crossbow on purpose to stop what she called abuse because she was afraid he would hurt her. It started to fall apart that she had admitted to poisoning. After looking at the bedroom scene, detectives came to the conclusion that Steve's death wasn't caused by a single act of violence. Lana had been playing around with different doses of tetrahydrozoline for days while he lay in bed with what she called vertigo. She did this until she found the right amount to kill him. By the third day, she had given him enough to kill him. Then there was the phone that was lost. Investigators think she threw Steve's cell phone into Lake Wylie so that he couldn't call for help in his last hours, when he was alone, unable to move or speak. Even though what she admitted was very bad, she wasn't arrested right away. In the days that followed, Lana tried to kill herself. She took a lot of pills, turned on the gas in her house, and was quickly found by a neighbor who came to check on her. However, she lived. On August 31, 2018, she was arrested and charged with murder. After hearing the truth, Steve's family started to think again about the years that led up to his death. They were not sure if the move to South Carolina was a smart one, since state law said that if there was no will, the surviving partner would get everything. They thought about Steve's mysterious illnesses over the past few months, which even the best doctors couldn't explain. Soon, the bag would be used in another terrible accident. A strange death happened just 12 miles north of Lake Wylie, 3 weeks after Steve's. The woman who was years old was Stacy Hunsucker. Investigators say that her husband poisoned her with Vicine so that he could get the money from her life insurance policy. Like Lana, he had her burned right away. To be safe, tissue tests were done on Stacy because she donated organs. The tests showed that she had lethal amounts of tetrahydrozoline. Several states had to make big changes to their toxicology standards because of these two cases. Now, a lot of labs regularly check for tetrahydrozoline, which was something the Clayton family pushed for a long time. Lana finally admitted that she killed the person and tampered with food and drugs. She keeps saying that she had no plans to kill Steve. Prosecutors, on the other hand, said she did it for money because she broke his will and took planned steps to keep him alone while he was dying. They painted a scary picture of the wife in court. She poisoned her husband over several days, ignored his pain, and made sure he couldn't call for help. The defense said she had been sexually abused as a child and had PTSD that got worse during her marriage. The judge didn't care. Lana Clayton was given a 25-year prison term. Lana killed Steve, as Steve's sister and a close friend told the judge through tears. This made it clear to both the judge and the court that Lana was guilty. The truth was hard for people who loved Stephen Clayton to understand. As one close family member or friend put it, "At that moment, my world changed forever." That person was Lana, and they had no problem including her in their group. They said she had never shown anger, greed, or hatred. She had always seemed nice, helpful, and warm. Now she himself admitted that she was a killer. She had planned and carried out the killing of their brother, who was their best friend. This wasn't a sudden act of rage. It was planned out, methodical, and done perfectly. When the truth hit, it brought up a lot of hard questions. How long had Steve been hurt? Were the times he got sick earlier that year for no clear reason the result of slow, intentional poisoning? Was he stuck in his own house because his body stopped working? When he got downstairs that last day, did he try to get help? Did he know that his life was ending? It's likely that we'll never find out. But the unknown is scary for those who loved him. The pain of losing Steve was made worse by the deception. Not only had they lost him, but the person who did it had also lied to them. Lana had been accepted as a friend and had been fully trusted. All of them were fooled, even Steve, who they said was one of the smartest people they had ever met. It was both strange and scary about the case. The truth was always important to Steve's family, though, because they didn't give up. Suspicion turned into proof, and a planned killer was caught. It was a sad lesson in the end. If something feels wrong, it might be exactly what your gut tells you it is. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell for more true crime stories. Stay safe. See you in the next video.